I'm translating it to laying in a wet, cold hide site or a freaking out of control hide site. And you're in there for 2 days, man, getting your brain baked out, man. All right, folks, got my man Jerry on talking about some aviation special operations. Smart guy, man. It's going to be a banger. You talking about going to be an operator. I'm going to ask physically, what's your background look like?
I didn't play any sports in high school. I was relatively sedentary, but now present day, I'm a bodybuilder. I'm in the gym 7 days a week. And I've watched
Okay.
videos of you previously, and you'd oftentimes say that all the muscle-bound individuals in the SEAL teams, they tend to get struggles because it's an endurance game, and I understand that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But I would, sorry, go ahead.
How much have you been running?
Quite frankly, not at all, nor any.
How much have you ever ran?
I've never been an endurance athlete, never.
So I'm just going to tell you this. The transition from bodybuilding to being an endurance athlete is not as hard as going from an endurance athlete to being a bodybuilder. However, it could take you up to 2 years to get your body in shape to run. How tall are you?
5'9",
How
194 pounds.
So that shouldn't be a problem. I tell everybody, man, at this stage, like, you got the Army PDF. Do you have
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes, sir, I do. You
So
sent it
then,
to me in
like,
2021.
at this stage, Jerry, is just get on the Army PDF. There ain't a lot of conversations to be had. If you can't run 35-minute 5-mile jogging, then you can't go. And I don't get into a lot of hyper focus on the future shit. I just, where you at right now? What are you doing? Are you doing what you need to do to try to get to where you want to go in the future? If the answer is yes, then you keep going. If not, then you look at something else.
But
So
there's
you're
also
gonna,
the other aspect because I've seen previous conversations that you've had with other individuals that were also athletes and they were in college with 4.0 GPAs. And I remember you told one kid in particular that you didn't necessarily foresee him having that savagery in him to go become an operator. And my question being is, you may not be able to interpret that in me yet, but do you see an element of savagery? Like, am I capable of that?
you want the
People,
honest to God truth? I'm gonna say no. But I will say this: I can't tell you who's gonna make it, right? You're not in the category of you're absolutely not gonna make it. But I tell everybody, man, them dudes just look, man, they just look different. You know what I'm saying? They
yeah,
just different. I tell cats, man, when one of them dudes walk in the room, you feel a difference.
I didn't take offense to what you said of you
No,
saying
I
that.
mean you shouldn't. I'm not trying to be. Everybody says I'm being a butthead on here, but the truth of the matter is, it's the facts of life.
They're
You've
cut from
never
a different
ran.
cloth.
You've never ran in your life. I'm saying that I have the first kid getting ready with fingers crossed to graduate from SEAL training who could not swim when he called me. He worked with an Olympic swim coach for 3 years to get to the minimum. And he's going to be the first kid that I've ever saw that's been successful out at SEAL training, not being able to swim. So for you, and that's why I said, get on the PDF, call me back in 6 months, tell me how you're doing. We'll go from there. Like if you say, because you're going to know in the first couple of months whether that shit's for you or not. You're gonna be like, man, I just had a kid the other day that was on Discord who said he didn't like running. He tried to eat the running for a month and a half, and he decided that he hated the running. And well, if you hate running, way you go on special forces. You
I
ain't going
understand.
psyop. You ain't going psyops either. Psyops is special ops over there. You got to go to selection, and they're not taking out of shape bodybuilding dudes that can't run a 35-minute 5 mile. So, what were
Understood.
your grades in college?
Grades in college are stellar, 3.7, going from
Okay.
MBA.
What
So
about what about undergrad?
undergrad, my BBA
From where?
from a guy from Walsh Business Institution.
Walsh.
You're
Yep.
familiar. You're from Michigan, so
Yep. So I would tell you, have you flown
no
at
flawed.
all?
No, so that's what I've been considering. There is a flight school right by me, roughly 8 miles away. I get my PPL. I can afford it. And then I can also acquire my commercial pilot's license there as well.
So I would tell you this. I would go get your PPL because when you graduating from with your MBA,
Approximately 18 months, under
2 years, brother. Go get your PPL, and I would tell you to start getting on the PDF. Start getting on the PDF, and see if you like it. Right? You're gonna have to start running. You're a bodybuilder. I know you know how to do workout programs and all that other stuff. I would tell you to start running slow so you don't develop any problems. I would tell you to
yeah.
continue to lift, but 3 a week, full body, 3 times a week, less than an hour. And then at the end, in 6 months from now, really about a year from now, you're gonna have to make it. Well, 9 months from now, you got to make a decision. So 9 months before you graduate with your MBA, you're gonna have to be figuring out: do I want to go fly, or am I going to do special operations?
Yeah. My father, he was in the Air Force for 20 years, so I was exposed to aviation from an early age, early adolescence. So I think it'd be in my best interest to simply go fly. Considering I have a keen interest for flying in aviation. So
But
um,
you haven't flown yet.
I understand, but I'm just saying, like, he used to
Okay.
fly, and he exposed me to aviation from a young age. But he
Was he
did
a
take me up.
pilot?
No, sir, he was a C-130 radio operator, but
Gotcha.
he was consistently on C-130s, flying on and
Yeah, yeah.
about, sort of ordeal. But in
I
regard,
flew on
sorry,
C-130 when I was a kid. It was awesome.
yeah, family's been in the military, and I would be the first commissioned officer in my family. So that's
Okay.
something that I certainly look forward to. Okay, no, I understand what you're saying because I remember video that you published upwards of 2 years ago. All the genteel dudes tend to struggle in the SEAL teams, even the officers, because in SOCOM now you have these hardened veterans that from Afghanistan, Iraq, etc., that are veterans of approximately 20
I mean,
years.
now I got to do right now. They got no combat deployments. Been in since 18.
Yeah,
So they're going away. Like give 10 years. Well, maybe not 10, 5 years, and you're gonna have back to the way it was. Like 50 to the SEAL team had no combat,
yeah,
You're gonna have a lot more senior people that had combat. So
yeah. I
um
suppose the question that I ask myself and I ponder is where are my talents best utilized? And I don't think it's in special operations. I think it's doing something that's more intellectual and cerebral. So most likely going to be a pilot. Um,
yeah, I'm this like the intellectual dudes struggle in special operations because there's a lot of dig ditches, man.
yeah, like you
There's
used
a
to remember
lot.
one video. You said it's a hammer and a rock, and the smart they think of a way in order to surpass the rock as opposed to doing the blunt force work, and that's what it requires in special operations. So uh,
Yeah, man, like a lot of times, man, it's making that rock disappear. And the dudes are all trying to figure out, like, why, man, use an excavator? Why can't we go get a rock crusher? Right. And I'm not saying that the SEALs and special operations aren't going to think like that, but I'm translating it to laying in a wet, cold hide site or a freaking out of control hide site. And you're in there for 2 days, man, getting your brain baked out, man, like 100 degrees all day long. You're praying for the sun to come down, and then the next thing you know, the sound and it's like 45 to 50 degrees out there and you're freezing to death.
yeah,
It's just a different animal, man. What kind of background you grew up in, but
I mean psychologically, you're referring to.
no,
I
I'm
mean,
just talking about, man, like, break my kids in on hard work. And it's hard. What I'm saying? They don't do it. I'm like, hey, they're on like tomorrow morning, got a bunch of games. Sunday morning, they're gonna get up and they're gonna clear a bunch of bushes out of the yard, right? Like they're gonna cut them
yeah,
all down. And it's like I just stuff for them to do because they need to learn hard work. It's hard to translate to people. The thing with you ain't even close to going to special operations. So once again, get on a PDF, start your
understood.
training pipeline, see if you even like running, right? You said you like swimming. Swimming is a small part of the Army. It's a big part of the SEALs, but you're gonna have to be able to run. If you can't run, we're having a pointless conversation here.
Understood, no problem. Okay. So, and being a pilot in aviation, as you would commonly say, it's hyper competitive in the Air Force, but in the
Mhm.
Navy, it's relatively easy. And
Yep.
with my grades and academics, I could go fly in the Navy, I'd imagine. So, being a fighter pilot is obviously hyper competitive and
It's not it's competitive. It's based on how many hours you show up to flight training with. So they're absolutely 100%. You want to be a fighter pilot and you have resources, I would tell you go get your commercial pilot's license, go fly, get 1,000 hours, and then come into the military.
okay.
Go
Sorry, go
ahead.
on. So, a commercial pilot license that would cost me probably 80 to $100,000 to acquire, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A high
Right.
MBA, and I'll be able to work full time and get a white collar job, and therefore I could cash flow it relatively easily.
So
Okay.
I sent you a text message about school's classroom. Did I send you those?
No, sir,
Let
you
me
did
look.
not.
Okay, so in classroom, we got a bunch of dudes doing it. Like right now, we have a bunch of dudes doing schools classrooms. And so we got like two F-35 pilots that are both former pilots are in there. We got hang on, man, hang on. Okay. Quick. I got kids throwing up. Hang on.
Problem. Take your time.
Hey babe, what do you need me to do? Okay. I'm sorry about that. Just send me an op emergency. You know what I'm saying? I just did a text message. I just looked at it. All right, bye. So back to the school's classroom. has an aviation room in it. And there's a kid named Dat Tran in that room who has absolutely murdered it. We told him to start flying last December. He got like 100 and plus hours now. But he has a job, like you're saying, really, really financially. And so he's able to go do it. You know what I'm saying?
Understood. Okay.
But yeah, with you, like I tell you, if you really want to fly jets and you want to be a fighter pilot, like you can the Air Force. I don't know how competitive the Air Force is because they have a lot more fighter planes than the Navy does. But in the Navy, if you ain't got commercial hours and you can whip that plane around and fly it like you stole it, you ain't gonna get it because I got my commercial pilots. They all studied for 2.5 years straight, 8 hours a day, every day of the week, because they
Marine
want to
Corps
fight.
pilots, correct? Marine Corps
I got
pilots.
one Marine Corps and one Navy
Okay.
F-35 pilot. Yeah.
Understood. So just so I get my PPL, go get my commercial pilot's license, and then briefly be a commercial pilot at Delta Airlines or
You could be a CFI, right? Like
okay,
you
fly
certified
around in
flight
any
instructor.
capacity, more or less.
Yeah, yeah, it's brother. And you know, I like the faster plane you fly, the easier it'll be to fly fast planes.
I just
Yeah, if you got a regional, like regional job for a couple years and got your hours up, you ain't gonna make a lot of money, but you're gonna be ready to fly jets in the Navy. But even then, you're still gonna have to kill yourself in flight school studying.
and then of course
So
for the Air Force, the AFOQT and for the ASTB, the Aviation Armed Service, something of the sort.
yeah, what grade? So I just tell everybody you gotta study, man. What was your
Yeah.
major? You
My
had
major is
business,
getting my MBA with a
finance,
special. Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
undergrad, finance,
Marketing.
marketing. So
Yeah.
like I tell everybody, you want to go in the Air Force with great grades, you got to get a 90 on the AFQT. Got to get a 90. So you got to study, you got to bust ass, So it's hard to go flying. You also got the National Guard route too. So you could go do which we got a couple dudes like Aaron's in flight school right now for the Air Force to go in the National Guard. So we got a couple people doing that route too. That's another way that's kind of a cheat code because you get to pick your airframe. It's just really hard to pick. You're not going to be able to pick jets in that airframe. It's really hard to get jets the opportunity to go. So
Okay. So sorry, go ahead.
Good. No, you're good.
My success is basically predicated upon studying my academics and also my flight hours, and therefore the higher that is, the propensity, my opportunities will become wider available. So for instance, like Air Force and okay, I understand.
1,000%.
Okay.
Easy enough?
Yes, sir. Quick question about, you don't mind me asking a question about Special Forces, PSYOP, do you, or PSYWAR?
Go ahead. No, well, here's what I'm gonna tell you. I really don't want to talk to you about none of that shit until you can run 35-minute 5 mile.
I understand. Okay.
I don't deal in hypothetical bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You're right. You can't run. Like if I just go run a mile, how fast you gonna run a mile? Like 11 minutes?
Unlikely.
Yeah, you're a bodybuilder. Like until that comes to 6 minutes, like we ain't reason for us to talk about nothing.
Yeah, just a hypothetical. I understand.
Yeah, and you're 18 months, so I'd rather have you get in shape and be like, "Hey, man, I'm running 35-minute 5 mile. Let's start having some conversations about this stuff." Because it shouldn't. My opinion is, if you're a bodybuilder, it shouldn't take you more than 6 months to a year to get your running down. You know what I mean? Like you got a lot of muscle mass and all the other stuff you need to run fast. You just got to change the muscle load.
Understood. Okay. All right. But I do appreciate you being candid with me where you interpreted how I am, and you really foresee me having that savage in me because
It's not that I don't see it in you. I just don't like. You're an academic dude, bro, and
they struggle.
academic they struggle. Where I would prefer to fight instead of do a paper, you would prefer to do a paper instead of fight.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I right now, if you ask me to run 26 miles or write a 5-page paper, I'm running 26 miles every time.
Okay.
So I'm saying that that's a 100% absolute. Just telling you from my experience, cats with really good grades go there and they out of being in the program. They outthink, they contemplate, they do all this forward thinking when a lot of times you just got to break rocks, my guy. You got to break rocks.
Okay. So in the near future, get my familiarization flight. They take me up, start working towards my PPL, for my PPL, complete my MBA program. Then I'll go get my commercial pilot's license.
No.
Then accrue as many hours as like.
How about you start running?
Okay.
We don't need to talk about nothing 18 months from now. How about you start running, go get your PPL? Let's start with those two things.
Understood. No problem.
All right, big dog, kill it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, talk to you later.
Have a great day. Take care.
All right, folks. Y'all can see Jerry got a conundrum going on. Ain't never ran, lethargic in high school, want to be a special operations dude. Do I see it in him? Not really. But he's smart, grew up in an aviation household in the Air Force. I think he could be a hell of a pilot. So over the next 18 months, we'll figure out where he's supposed to be. Other than that, let's that dude come back. Let's see if he's running fast enough.